Welcome students to S Union High School and Junior College. Standard 6 English Prose The Sword in the Stone Part 2. This is the continuation of the lesson The Sword in the Stone. What does that matter? I have it in my hand. It was meant to be mine. Isn't that enough? Kay retorted angrily. That's not enough, said the father quietly. How did you get hold of the sword? I've got it, and that's what matters, Kay replied, stubborn as ever. Well done. Come with me, Sir Ector said, and led his son inside the great church, which was now empty. Taking the holy book from the choir, Sir Ector said to his son, Swear on the holy book that you drew the sword from the stone. Sir Kay lowered his eyes. He could not face his father now. How did you come by the sword, son? Sir Ector asked him once again. Arthur brought it to me, father, said Kay, still with his eyes lowered. Bring Arthur here and let the three of us go to the churchyard. Sir Ector told him, we have to know the truth about this. Soon the three of them were at the churchyard. Put the sword back on its anvil, Sir Ector said to Kay. But try as he might, Kay could not put the sword back. It stuck the anvil and slid off the block. Arthur saw what was happening and thought that his father was angry with them because he thought the sword was stolen. Sir Ector had always told his sons, what matters most for knights is the integrity, means strong moral principles, being honest and truthful at all times, on all occasions. Arthur stepped forward impulsively. Here, let me put it back, he said, and taking the mighty sword from his elder brother, he thrust it back on the anvil and it slipped in neatly. I assure you, father, I did not steal the sword. Kay needed a sword urgently, and I did not want to keep him waiting. Rather than ride all the way home, I decided to take the sword which I found in the churchyard. And see, it is back in its place now. I fully intended, that means planned, to put it back in the place after the tournament. And glancing at his brother, he added, I am sure that is what Kay would have told me to do. Wouldn't you, brother? Sir Kay did not speak a word. All right, Arthur, I believe you, said Sir Ector. Now, let me see you draw that sword out as you did the first time. First you, Kay, but try as he might, Kay could not so much as grip the handle, and he could not move the sword, however hard he tried. Kay pulled it, but would not come out. But Arthur pulled and it came out. Now it is your turn, Arthur, said Sir Ector sternly. Arthur gripped the handle of the sword and drew the sword out gently but firmly. Sir Ector made him repeat the action again and again. Each time Arthur gripped the handle and drew the sword out without any hesitation, means any delay due to uncertainty. Sir Ector was overwhelmed. He fell on his knees before his young son, who held the mighty sword in his hand, and bowed his head in deep devotion. Wordlessly, Kay followed his example. Arthur jumped back in surprise. Father, why do you kneel before me? Am I not your son? Must I do all those deeds and right those wrong? You must, Sir Hector said from bended knees, for you are the king of Britain now. Oh no, said Arthur, please, no, no. That is what I had thought until now, Sir Hector replied. But now I know better. I know whose son you are. You are the son of the good King Uther Pendragon, and I bow you as you are the king of Britain now. How could that be? You and I know that I was an orphan boy entrusted to your care. Silently, Sir Hector pointed to the inscriptions on the stone which Arthur had not seen until. Whoso pulleth out the sword is by right of birth king of England. But it can't be me. Father, I am your son, and I shall always remain your son. There was a flash of light, and Merlin appeared before them, a hooded figure with bright shining eyes and bewitching smile. Lovingly, he laid his hand on Arthur's head and said to him, Indeed, I was the one who entrusted you to good Sir Hector for your safety. Your father and I knew that great danger lay ahead for the kingdom and yourself. No sooner than you were born, your father blessed you and handed you over to me with the solemn request that you would take your rightful place on the throne of England when it was safe for you to do so. Turning to Sir Hector, Merlin said, In the name of the late King Uther, I thank you. You have done a splendid job of bringing up the heir to the British throne. Now, you must inform the Archbishop and your fellow knights of all that has happened here. I shall await your return. Immediately, Sir Hector called upon the Archbishop and all the lords assembled at the tournament. Holding Arthur by the hand, he announced to the assembly, Behold the rightful King of England. For a moment there was silence, and then the crowd bursted out in angry protests. How can we believe you? Who is this unknown boy? Where did he come from? How is he any better than one of us? The Archbishop took them all to the churchyard. The entire assembled age watched it in a way as Arthur entrusted the sword in the anvil, a heavy block, and drew it out effortlessly. Some of the lords and the knights also tried to draw the sword, but failed to do so. Again and yet again, Arthur drew the sword from the stone before his people. Each time cheers went up, and each time more and more knights drew their swords and held them up high in the gesture of loyalty to their newfound prince. Loud cheers rose from the common people who had surrounded the churchyard. eager to greet their new king. Now, Merlin stepped out of the shadows and addressed the crowd. Behold, O people of Britain, I present you the one and the only son of King Uther, Pendragon, and his queen. He is your rightful king. The Sword in the Stone. This is how Arthur became the rightful heir to the throne and the King of England. Thank you.